There we go. All right, so welcome to Joining United Religions Initiative, connecting local interfaith to a global network. And for the next hour or so, we're going to talk about the benefits that local groups can and do receive from being a part of URI, which is the world's largest grassroots interfaith network. And we're going to start this morning in a way that we start many gatherings, which is just a moment to kind of collect ourselves and come fully into this place. And we're going to do that by reflecting on URI's founding document. Just a quick note before we do that, if you're having any technical trouble and you need help, you can email support@bigmarker.com for live assistance from their tech team. And there's also an attendee guide, and I'm going to put a link to that in your chat box in case you're having trouble. You can also check that out. Oops, not pasting. Give me 1 second, and it will be in your chat box. There we go. And then just by way of introductions, my name is Sari Heidenreich. I'm the North American Regional Coordinator for URI. And what that means is that I help to connect and support existing members of the URI network and also help to bring new members into the family. And I will let my coworker Liam introduce himself.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today. My name is Liam Chin and I'm the Director for Global Programs, Evaluation and Learning here at URI. And I spend a lot of my time traveling around the globe working with our member groups who are called cooperation circles, finding ways to support them in their different types of work, which we'll talk about, and creating systems that try to gather all the lessons and strategies and needs of our groups and to share them across the network.
Liam does a lot of different and varied things, as you'll find with a lot of us at URI do. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to go now into a reading of URI's portion of this larger document called the Preamble, Purpose, and Principles, which forms the founding and the concrete foundation of our organization. And we refer back to these principles pretty much throughout our, for me at least daily. I've got this page bookmarked on my computer because I'm always referring to it, and it's a baseline for our work. And it's also what connects cooperation circles across the globe. We have, as of yesterday, 763 in 94 countries. So these are grassroots groups all over the world. And when you become a member of URI, you sign on in agreement with these preamble, purpose, and principles. So that's something I like to hold as I read through these, is to know that people all over the world are in agreement with them and are working for peace in these ways and with these methods. So we are going to start here, and Liam and I will just go back and forth, and you can follow along. So, we, the people of diverse religions, spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions throughout the world, hereby establish the United Religions Initiative to promote enduring, daily interfaith cooperation, to end religiously motivated violence, and to create cultures of peace, justice, and healing for the earth and all living beings.
We respect the uniqueness of each tradition and differences of practice or belief.
We value voices that respect others and believe that sharing our values and wisdom can lead us to act for the good of all.
We believe that our religious, spiritual lives, rather than dividing us, guide us to build community and respect for one another.
Therefore, as interdependent people rooted in our traditions, we now unite for the benefit of our Earth community.
We unite to build cultures of peace and justice.
We unite to heal and protect the Earth.
We unite to build safe places for conflict resolution, healing, and reconciliation.
We unite to support freedom of religion and spiritual expression and the rights of all individuals and peoples as set forth in international law.
We unite in responsible, cooperative action to bring the wisdom and values of our religious, spiritual expressions and indigenous traditions to bear on the economic, environmental, political, and social challenges facing our Earth community.
We unite to provide global opportunity for participation by all people, especially by those whose voices are not often heard.
We unite to celebrate the joy, of blessings and the light of wisdom in both movement and stillness.
We unite to use our combined resources only for nonviolent, compassionate action, to awaken to our deepest truths and to manifest love and justice among all life in our Earth community.
The purpose of the United Religions Initiative is to promote enduring, daily interfaith cooperation, to end religiously motivated violence, and to create cultures of peace, justice, and healing for the Earth and all living beings.
And so, holding those things, I'm going to ring this bell and just let us take a moment for those to sink in. And if you can in this moment, just think about what from those words resonated most with you, and when we're done, we can maybe share that in the chat box. Thank you. And if you want to read more, because there's a whole section that we didn't read just in the interest of time, the principles that were written along with this charter, you can find them at the link that I just put in your chat box. And I find those so rich, and I really do resonate with them a lot. So if anything from there sort of jumped out at you or resonated with you, go ahead and share that in the chat box so we can just kind of have that collective experience. I really love the line about building cultures of peace and justice, because I think that's so central to what we do here. It is so central. I don't just think so. So this time we really set aside to talk about how existing interfaith groups can join URI and why they might want to do that. And so we're going to talk about that topic in the next hour or so. And just to kind of give you a basic definition of what a cooperation circle is, Liam's going to take over and start that out for us.
Okay, great. So cooperation circles are groups or organizations that join URI, and when they join, there's some minimal criteria that they have to meet, and those criteria are that there's at least 7 individuals in number, and the members of the group or organization represent at least 3 religions, spiritual expressions, or indigenous traditions. And so this ensures a certain level of faith diversity in our groups. And other than that, the process is, we'll talk about a little bit later and how to get there, but that's basically what a cooperation circle is. And cooperation circles are, as part of the URI charter, you'll see that we didn't read the principles, the 21 principles, but basically cooperation circles decide, they're autonomous, and they decide whatever issue they want to work on. And as a cooperation circle, we honor and respect and promote that sort of autonomy and creativity. And sort of the only stipulation is that whatever work they do, the way it's carried out is expected to be consistent with the preamble, purpose, and principles. So, for example, a cooperation circle that joins to profit would be an example of not following the preamble, purposes, and principles. Other than that, it's extremely expensive and flexible.
And there is such a broad variety among these 763 groups. Can you give some examples of the different types of work? And knowing that there's everything in between the examples that you'll give as well.
Yeah, one of the things that makes URI such a powerful, comprehensive, peace-building organization is that our member groups work on a range of issues that we broadly categorize into 2 areas. Area 1 would be interfaith bridge building, which are things like traditional interfaith dialogue, interfaith education, reconciliation and healing, or what we call conflict transformation. The other area would be what we call actions to address drivers of conflict. These are what some might refer to as root causes of conflict: poverty, lack of education, injustice related to gender or ethnic or religious differences. or environmental factors that lead to conflict, perhaps something to do with a resource that's being fought over. So cooperation circles carry out a number of actions that cover these two areas, and collectively they generate a very powerful impact that helps us step towards our purpose statement, which you heard us read earlier, which seems very expansive, and some might say, wow, that sounds like you're trying to solve every problem in the world. And we can understand that perception, but when you look at the broad variety of work being done by cooperation circles, you can also see that that is congruent with our purpose statement.
So since we're mostly a US-based audience, I'll give some examples of what's happening across North America. And North America for us, in terms of our organizationally, is the US and Canada. Mexico fits in with our Latin American region. That was a choice that they were given. Because of language and culture, it makes more sense for them to be in that region. So across the US and Canada, we do see a broad variety of circles addressing different issues. And I'll give an example of one that just came into my inbox this morning. And there is a cooperation circle in Tennessee that has raised money to put a half-page ad in the Johnson City Press to address the topic of loving our Muslim neighbors. And they've written a beautiful letter calling on their community to love their Muslim neighbors and to recognize those followers of Islam, which is the majority of Muslims, who believe in Islam as a religion of peace, and also for us to welcome refugees. So this is an example of a group of people who is an interfaith group. These are members of different religions, spiritual expressions, indigenous traditions, who come together to write this statement, to sign this statement, and to make that public before their community. There are also groups, for example, here in the Bay Area. Homelessness is a major concern, and so we have interfaith winter night shelters that rotate from house of worship to house of worship, where these houses of worship set up places usually for families, because that's a hard fit for shelters, where families can stay on the cold winter nights, as cold as it gets here in the Bay Area. So there really is a broad variety. You'll also see from our purpose statement, we have a lot of circles who are working on healing and protecting the earth. There's a group in California that works statewide to help congregations of any tradition to become carbon neutral, to get solar panels, and all of that. So really, there is such a variety. And if there's anything that you're wondering specifically about, if we have circles addressing that, feel free to send a message in the chat box, and we can try and address that as well. And so getting back here to just kind of who URI is, so you understand, at the core, URI is a network. We seek to connect and empower interfaith changemakers who are working in their local community or who are working globally. So this kind of graphic here gives you a little bit of a feel for that. And we're going to talk about now the benefits of being a member of URI. So I think several of you on this call are involved with interfaith groups in your local community who are thinking about joining URI as members, and what does that look like? So this is a graphic that Liam has thought a lot about and put together, and so we'll just kind of go through it section by section to give you a taste and a flavor for what it means to be a member of URI and how that can possibly enhance your work and how we can possibly enhance your work as well. So the preamble, purpose, and principles that we just read are really a core value for all of our circles, and so having that as your cornerstone almost is a big benefit of being a member of URI, having that document.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I spoke to a group in Arizona that joined recently, and they were an established group, but he said when they sat down and they read the PPPs, as we call them, when they read them together, they were like, yep, that's us, and it really just sank in and resonated. And so that's something that we offer and we give to the community to be used. The other opportunity for connection is the opportunity to connect with and share ideas and experiences with like-minded groups across the globe. And I'll let you give some examples of what that looks like practically.
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to do that right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So you have cooperation circles that are interested in similar areas, and being part of the URI network means that they can connect. So if you have an environmental cooperation circle in Nigeria who's interested in water quality issues and of course is using an interfaith approach towards that, and we can talk about that later, what that means in interfaith approach, they might reach out and connect with a cooperation circle in Germany who is an environmental focused group that also works on water quality and exchange information, ideas, experiences. I think Sari said yesterday that one of our favorite quotes from a cooperation circle recently is that because this network has over 750,000 individuals and 700 and something cooperation circles, there's always somebody out there that has gone through an experience and learned a lesson, no matter what it is, that, you know, finding that person and being able to sort of learn from their experience is what is a major benefit of the network. So
yeah, and that knowing that that's there,
yeah.
I think regardless of how often you need to use it, because right, we don't hope that we're going to have problems that we need to seek out people for wisdom, but knowing that it's there and knowing that you have that support of a global network in your local work, I have found people who are working on the ground who just find that it's a comfort. It's like a safety net in some senses, that you're not doing this work alone, and that even though sometimes it may feel isolating in your community, you are connected to all of these other people. And that's one really practical thing that we have is a global email list called a listserv. And every day you get emails from someone around the globe talking about the interfaith work that they're doing in their local community. And so for me, that's one of the things that keeps me going and keeps me positive amidst everything that I see happening in the U.S. right now, across the world, is that I get an email in my inbox and I see photos of school children in India on a peace parade, holding the URI banner with this star that you can see in the background there, this logo of URI, and knowing that we're connected. Getting an email from a group in Ghana who was doing tree planting, and through that activity helped to mediate a conflict between Muslims and Christians in this village that had existed for over a decade. And so how can you not feel hopeful when you're hearing these stories every day? And we have the grind of the work that's happening in our local communities, and this connection really provides that benefit. I talk a lot about the benefits of URI, both in the tangible and sort of in the heart. That connection to me is one that keeps the heart connected to people all over the world. The other thing that this connection provides, and this in some ways crosses over to the other section, so to speak, but is the visibility and the name recognition of URI around the world. The star that you see in our logo, the name United Religions Initiative, really provides cooperation circles with an elevation that is often really helpful. So for example, there was a group that was forming in Maine, and there hadn't been previously any interfaith groups in their community. And so they were being faced with a lot of skepticism by their community of like, what is this circle, cooperation, interfaith? We don't understand. And they were able to, through the model of a cooperation circle and through the URI website, show that they were members of a global network, of a global movement of people who are operating in this way. And it broke down a lot of that skepticism and that misunderstanding of what they might be there to do. And having URI's name and logo to go along with that was really helpful for them. Do you want to say anything on that sort of name and logo? Yeah,
I think we'll be giving some actual quotes from members of cooperation circles about benefits of the network, and I think there's a few on that. So
yeah.
We'll
cool.
do it at the end.
Awesome. We'll go on to support and growth, and I'll let you tackle this one a bit more. So what are sort of the tangible things that URI provides in terms of resources?
Right. So support and growth is I think is one of the other big pillars you see here in terms of benefits of the network. Sari just mentioned elevated visibility through membership with a global interfaith organization. You know, CCs they have their own web page on our website. you know, that visibility is there. They can use our logo. They can refer to our web page, and they're part of something bigger. So that's one thing. Or as a friend of mine in Ethiopia says, for small groups, URI is a large platform for small voices. And so it's another way of saying it. More tangibly, too, is training and capacity building opportunities. Across all our regional offices, which we have over 20 across the globe, every year there are gatherings that are organized by our staff for cooperation circles, for representatives to come from cooperation circles to a meeting location and spend a few days getting to know each other, but also participating in trainings and capacity building. And that could be anything from peace building trainings to project design, evaluation trainings, storytelling and data collection trainings. The list goes on. And so that's a big part of what we do. Because URI is not an organization that typically provides grants and funding, it's pretty rare. What we do is, you know, as they say, we don't give a person a fish, teach them to fish. And so URI is really about building the capacity and this sort of organizational development aspect. And so we provide that mentoring role. Another area is participation in worldwide events. Every year we have World Interfaith Harmony Week and International Day of Peace. And these are sort of worldwide events that are sponsored by the UN and other large international organizations. And URI often puts together activities, and we invite cooperation circles to participate in them and help them to design their own as well, and to share all these experiences through Facebook and the website and elsewhere. And so this is an opportunity to participate, and we'll tell you in a moment about what good things can come from such participation. Do you want me to read through all of them?
Well, pick out the ones that you want to talk about.
Okay.
You just keep going.
Okay. Well, when we said that URI doesn't provide funding, this is an important point to just go a little deeper on, because I think typically groups that join an international organization would assume that because this is the norm, either that there are going to be funding opportunities. But URI, again, it's a network, but what can come from a network can actually be more powerful, and that is we help to link CCs to opportunities for funding and resources. And so because the network is vast, because URI engages governments, we have partnerships with governments and other international organizations, there's always opportunities for CCs to be linked up. And by the way, we mentioned training earlier. We even have some offices that provide proposal writing training. And so these are, again, opportunities to be linked to resources.
Yeah, and just to echo that, I think a tangible example that happened just this week was I got a phone call from a small foundation that funds women's organizations that are helping women, and she had received a grant application from one of our cooperation circles, and she wanted to know what I knew about this organization. And because I had a relationship with one of the leaders in this organization, because I knew that this group had been a member in good standing with URI for a certain amount of time, I was able to share that information with her. And it was immediately clear how validated she felt. That she saw this application and she thought, this looks cool, but she wasn't quite sure. And to hear from the world's largest grassroots interfaith network that this cooperation circle was a member in good standing with URI, I think put them leaps and bounds ahead of the other applicants. And so that was a really cool experience for me to tangibly see that though we don't give funding, we really can support groups to get funding. The other thing we provide that I think is really beneficial is we have a program called CC Profiles, which Liam helped to pioneer, and this is a set of 14, or have we expanded it now, about 14 questions that you go through with an interviewer, and it's really a conversation. And then we take it upon ourselves to rewrite up that conversation. We keep it in your voice and with your authentic nature of your group, and then we use it for our purposes to help connect cooperation circles to each other, so it's a benefit to you in that way. But you also now have that, and we give that to you. You can use the contents of it for brochures, for grant applications, for any of things that are going to help you towards your mission as well, more directly. And so when you think about some of the questions that go into writing grant proposals and things, you might have a ready answer from the CC profile that we did with you. We're trying to do them on the 1-year anniversary of groups as they join. So that's a really tangible thing that we provide as well.
Yeah, and actually just adding on that and resources is with over 700 cooperation circles in our network, some of them are large NGO organizations that are very well funded and very well resourced, and there's just a variety of cooperation circles out there that have different types of resources. And so we always say within the network itself, there's virtually unlimited resources. And so when cooperation circles connect with each other, you do see resource sharing. Sometimes it's, in the form of knowledge. Other times it's in the form of one cooperation circle, they provide a nationally accredited peace building training, and they'll invite another cooperation circle to participate in it free of charge. And so that's kind of the power of being part of a community where resources are expected and to be shared, and there are plenty of them. So.
Mm-hmm. And just to give a few more tangible examples from that, of the beauty of kind of how this all ends up working out, there is an interfaith group that I was talking to, and it's a relatively new group, and they were having this idea maybe to have a dinner dialogue type of event. I said, actually, there's a cooperation circle in New York called Interfaith Works, and they have a dinner dialogues program, and they have a training for their facilitators. And she goes, oh, that's a really great idea. Can we have a connection? And so I simply sent an email introduction, and the person at Interfaith Works was able to send over the packet of material to this new group, and they were able to use it as a training. And just think about all of the time and resources that saved by being able to share this and having the links to do so and knowing where to find it and where to look for it. So that is just, I can't say enough about that. Another example, I had a phone call yesterday, and there's a cooperation circle of peace walkers, and they're looking to organize anti-human trafficking peace walks across the U.S. over a period of 6 months. And she told me, okay, these are our target cities. And I was able to tell her, we have a cooperation circle here, we have a cooperation circle here. I one time met someone who worked with a group in this place and provided, in the course of 30 minutes, over 15 connections for her to make in these cities. Now, cooperation circles are independent. They don't have to say yes to doing this walk, but that put her steps ahead of what she was when we started the conversation a half an hour ago, to at least have a place to start and say, who else in your community can I talk to? So it's really about these connections. This graphic here of the circle with all the lines intersecting is really so much of what it's about. I think we're pretty clearly covered the slide. Do you want to go to the slide that talks about sort of some testimonials, and I'll let you pick out which one to talk about.
Sure. One of the testimonials I liked was about the preamble, purpose, and principles. Because you might say, well, it's just a document, but you could say that the Constitution of the United States is just a document, and so. The preamble, purpose, and principle is very powerful in a lot of ways. And one of my favorite quotes comes from a cooperation circle in Rwanda, who said, named Sangwa Cultural Network, and they do peace building among Hutu and Tutsi youth who were, as you know, the genocide in Rwanda, that over 1 million people were killed. And as part of the reconciliation process, this group brings together youth from different backgrounds to help break the cycle of violence. And they said, one of the quotes is, from our very first encounter with URI, we fell in love with the preamble, purpose, and principles, which have served us with deep insights and we use as our masterpiece for peacebuilding work. The other thing is, I was sitting in a cooperation circle gathering in South Africa last spring, and we said we went around and we said, why did you join URI? And one guy stood up and said, because of the PPP. He said, we did community-based work, we were delivering a social service, and when we saw the PPP, he said it became a roadmap for us. it really gave us focus on a sort of a flavor, the interfaith flavor and principles that we can impart into the social work we're doing. And so that was really powerful. One other quote that I like is from a group in Germany, which said, being part of URI's large international network gives our voice more weight. We can more easily cooperate with municipal and state offices, such as the Integration Office for the City of Bonn. We receive invitations which we would not receive if we were just by ourselves. And so that's those are a couple of quotes that I think are really sort of demonstrate the benefits of the network. And then the last just quick story was we talked about Interfaith Harmony Week and International Day of Peace. We invited a young group of musicians in Uganda who had formed a cooperation circle to participate in a URI event on International Day of Peace. And they're a group of interfaith musicians from different backgrounds that play music. And they did a really great job, and people really liked them locally. A lot of the local folks were really moved by them. Yeah, they're called Face Together Uganda. And we encouraged that we sort of captured some of the media of their performance, and we submitted it to the King of Jordan, who has an annual contest, an interfaith peace building contest in which he provides awards to groups that are doing this type of work. And actually this group received an award. They received a $5,000 award. The King of Jordan flew a couple of their members to Jordan to receive the award. And this all came from their participation in this sort of interfaith International Day of Peace event. And so that's a benefit of the network.
And World Interfaith Harmony Week is coming up. It's the first week of February, and this is an annual contest that the King of Jordan hosts. So if you are thinking about participating, do. And talking about tangible benefits of the network, one thing that we are doing in North America this year as a region is we're sponsoring 3 members of cooperation circles from across the United States to attend the World Interfaith Harmony Week celebration at the UN headquarters in New York. And to qualify to do this, they had to celebrate International Day of Peace, which is in September, and then submit a report to us, and then make an application. And so we had several applicants, and we had to make a tough choice, but we narrowed it down to the 3 that we had funding for, and they're going to be at the UN, and they're going to participate in an interfaith ceremony on the UN floor. Knock on wood, it's still in the planning. And it's going to be a really incredible thing. And so URI has consultative status at the UN. We have UN representatives both in New York and Geneva and at the African Union. And through our consultative status at the UN, cooperation circles also have consultative status. And so I'm not at liberty to talk exactly about this particular scenario, but there was a group that was working on an issue of international importance and really needed to get it in front of the UN. And through our representatives at the UN, she had a meeting set up and she was able to meet with some high-level people at the UN. So these kind of things happen in this network, and it's really that enhancement of the work that is happening. And URI is not about coming in and telling you how to do your work, but we're about being there to support the work that you are doing and help you connect. And also, one of the beautiful things Liam and I were talking about when we were preparing for this call was not just that you get things from the network, but that you give into it. That's one of the reasons that I love that our logo has that circle, because I think it really is a giving and a getting. Yeah. That you might not at this moment think of something that you need to get from the network, but I can guarantee you have something to give to it. And how wonderful is it that you can have learned things and developed things in your community that you can share with people all over the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We like to say we both give and receive benefit as a member of URI. And Sari mentioned the cooperation circle profiles that we do. And, after this call, if you're interested, they're on our website. We ask 2 questions. We ask, what benefit have you received from belonging to URI's cooperation circle? But we also ask, what benefit has your CC given or might you potentially give the network? And again, unlimited resources, knowledge, material and non-material in this network. So Yeah, that's great. Last quote I just say is probably one of the most common benefits is this sort of knowledge sharing. A group from Silicon Valley, the Silicon Valley Interreligious Council Cooperation Circle, said, URI provides RCC with tested models and best practices and brings awareness and networking opportunities with other local interfaith organizations. I like that. The tested models and best practices is really something that we see being shared every day, and URI as a sort of container and consolidator for all the lessons. And you know, there are certainly many in terms of interfaith peace building. This is really one of the major benefits.
Super. I feel like we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just real quick tell you the last thing that I had planned to tell you, which is how the process works to become a member of the network.
Yep.
And tomorrow after the video is processed for this call, I'll send a follow-up email with a link to the video, but also a resource guide for groups who are thinking about joining URI to explain some of this. So don't worry, you don't need to frivolously write it down. We'll send a follow-up that has all the information. But the process is because we are a grassroots network and we believe in the consensus building process, we really feel strongly that groups should decide together that they want to be members of URI. And so we have in the application a printout of our preamble, purpose, and principles, and we ask that groups go over this with members of their organization and that there's a collective decision made to apply to URI. And then there's the actual application to fill out. It's long in terms of number of pages, but the amount of information, I promise you, is not overbearing. We're really just trying to get a feel for who your organization is. So that means providing things like your purpose statement and your mission statement. And some contact information for members, because the only way that this network works is if we're actually in contact with each other. So that's really important for us to have. So once you submit that application, myself or another member of the North American leadership team will be in contact with you to do what we call an appreciative inquiry. And appreciative inquiry is a process of communication where you look at what is working instead of what's not to solve problems. And in this context, it essentially means that we have a series of questions that we want to ask you about your work, and also questions for you to ask us so that we can be sure to get to know each other better. And this really lays the foundation for the relationship between your cooperation circle and the rest of the network, because it gives us kind of that beginning information that we need to know to begin to help you plug in. And so we'll have that conversation with either myself or a member of the North America Leadership Council, or if you're outside of the U.S., your respective people in your region. And then we'll write that up, and it goes before a subcommittee of our Global Council, and voted on. They meet once a month and vote on cooperation circles. So they just met yesterday, and they'll meet again in the beginning of February, and so on and so forth throughout the year. And they vote on those applications, and then those members are welcomed into the URI network, usually very wholeheartedly, with lots of words of welcome from people around the world through that global listserv and other means. So that's the application process. If you have any questions about that, excuse me, be more than happy to follow up with you on that. But I want to get to questions. And since we do have a small group, I'm going to just enable microphones so people can talk if they've got questions, and then we don't have to do it using the chat box.
Jacqueline says she has to go.
Okay, Jacqueline has to run to class.
Good.
And is going to relay the information to her counterparts. So thank you, Jacqueline, for being here, and we're really grateful for it.
Yeah, looking forward to following up with you.
And so I have turned on people, given you the ability to turn on your microphone. So up next to your name, there's a mic on button, a camera on button. You can enable one or both of those if you have a question, or if you just want to introduce yourself. I'd be curious to hear a bit more about who we've got on here. And we'll just kind of hang out until we've got questions answered that need to be answered, and then we'll close out here. So I will give you a minute to think of things. We'll just kind of sit here because we've talked for a while. I don't want to talk your ear off too much more. I like talking to actual people better, you know.
Yeah.
I can see their faces. I wish I could see your faces. Thank you, Bridget. Bridget's got to run as well. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like there's just a couple of us left here. John and Mohammed, do either of you have questions we can help answer? And if not, we can just kind of close out and actually end early, which never happens. So we must be very efficient people.
Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't because we bored the heck out of you. But, yeah. How might an individual pursue? Excellent.
Great question.
Yeah, great question, John. Go ahead, sorry.
So there's kind of a two-part answer to that. So URI at its core is a network made up of groups of cooperation circles. And so part of why we believe URI has been effective is because people who are different than each other are working together. And so, John, my first sort of suggestion or question, and I wish you had a mic, so feel free to just type back, would be, you know, what is the possibility of meeting other people in your community and getting together for something?
6 to be exact. I mean, to form a cooperation circle, you'd only need 7 people. You're one. So do you have 6 friends that you might encourage to join with you? And would it cover 3, among the 7 of you, would there be 3 religions or spiritual expressions or indigenous traditions represented? That's one way.
Yeah. So there are some practical ways. I don't know. Other friends may be possible. We like that. So the other thing is, you know, is the reality of, honestly, life in America is that we're often segregated based on belief or color or culture. And so I could totally understand that people might not have friends who are different than them. And so we have a toolkit called Talking Back to Hate, which has a lot of great ideas for how to engage with people who are different than you. And, you know, one of those things is if there's a local house of worship in your community that's of a different tradition than yours, to give them a call and just say, I'm interested in learning more about different faiths and what people of, you know, different faiths can possibly do together. Do you have an event I could attend? And then to go about meeting people in that way. The other thing is maybe your first event, you do kind of have to organize yourself, and that's a lot of work maybe, but I had a cooperation circle leader who said, you know, go for the low-hanging fruit. What is something, a volunteer opportunity, something that really could bring people together, and then use that as an opportunity to talk to people about the fact that you have engaged with URI and are really interested in starting a cooperation circle, and is anyone else interested in joining with you on this effort. And John, I can send you as well. I just sent out a guide from the last call we had on Monday, which was more geared towards people who want to start cooperation circles. We talked a little bit more nuanced here about what existing groups can get from URI. But I can send you that toolkit, which has links to our resource guides, such as the Interfaith Peace Building Guide, the home meeting sort of 101, just real models. And again, things that can always be tweaked because we understand that communities are different from each other and that things that work specifically in one community might not work in another, but it gives you a starting point. So that is the hopefully sort of nutshell, maybe a little bigger than a nutshell answer. The other thing is that in North America, we're starting a mentorship program for people who want to start cooperation circles, but maybe need a hand in doing so. And so I can send you a link for that as well if you're interested in signing up. We'll pair you with a cooperation circle member from somewhere else in the US or Canada who's had experience and who you can kind of have to bounce ideas off of and get some resources from.
Right.
Any other questions, either from John or from you, Mohammed? Mohammed was on our call on Monday.
Oh, good.
And Mohammed, I don't know what time you had to get up for this one, but he got up at 3 a.m. for the last one.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's dedication right there.
Yeah. Any questions from your end, Mohammed? No? Okay. That's no problem. Oh.
Now it's 10 p.m.
Okay,
this is a more reasonable hour for you.
That's not too bad. Good.
John, did you have any other questions or anything else we can kind of help you think about or explore when it comes to URI? Great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Well, then I think we'll sign off.
Yeah.
I'll ring the bell to kind of close our time together, just kind of bookend it the way we started. And if you just want to join me in taking a deep breath and letting me sink in what we've talked about in the past hour, and I like to think about it in terms of what has resonated with each of us from this experience, short experience together, and what do we want to take from it. A common appreciative inquiry question at the end of your time together is to think about one action, big or small, that you want to take with you from this gathering. And so it could be something as simple as sending an email or making a phone call, or it could be something as big as starting a cooperation circle. And so let's just think on that question as I ring the bell and we close out. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're with us live or watching this recorded. Again, I'll send a follow-up email with the different information, and my email I'm going to put in the chat box if you have any questions or want to follow up. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye.